Welcome everyone. Before I start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you get all our new summaries. And let's begin our film. It starts with Genghis, who was gathered with his family for breakfast, and it shows he has two sons. After that, he prepares his tools and belongings and heads to his job at the paper factory. Here, his boss at work tells him that the country has advanced and flourished since the paper factory was built there. At this time, two strangers to the country appear, and they look very unsettling. They go to rest in a small tavern that serves drinks, and they ask the worker there if there's a central market in the country. The worker tells them and gives them directions. The two go to the first shop in the market, which is a butcher's shop. One of them closes the door, and the second demands the shop owner hand over all the money he has, revealing they are thieves. Here, the shop owner tries to defend himself but fails, of course, and can't overpower them. The worker there also gets beaten. At this moment, it turns out Genghis is in the place it seems he was delivering paper, and he heard these thugs breaking into the shop and mercilessly torturing those inside. So, Genghis decided to intervene and attacked one of the gang members, managing to immobilize him in such a way that he couldn't move. His partner had a weapon and tried to save him, but every time he tried, he ended up wounding him with the weapon. All this while, Genghis was holding on to him and refusing to let go, until the person with the sword decided to strike Genghis, but he dodged it and also cut off his partner's ear, which definitely enraged him and put him in a peak of anger. So, he struck him with a blow that sent him flying against the wall, pinning him there. After that, he turned to look for Genghis, who was trying to escape, but the swordsman, for the second time, failed to hit him, and even stumbled badly while trying to kill Genghis, and died instantly without any effort from Genghis. We see the second thief took Genghis out of the shop, and the two fell into the water. They kept fighting each other, and all the townspeople gathered. Even Genghis's son saw his father, and kept calling out to him, extremely fearful and worried for his father. But suddenly, we see the second thief unable to move, and dying. Genghis quickly emerges from the water, unable to catch his breath. At that moment, the police arrive with the forensic doctor, who examines the bodies and discovers the injuries and wounds on them, and one of the policemen appears to be tough and clever. It is discovered that one of the thieves is named Yuan and is accused of theft. He runs to the police chief and tells him that one of the thieves is named Yuan and that he is one of the 10 most wanted for justice on theft charges. He was the mastermind behind the notorious criminal Yan, who committed countless crimes. At that point, the police chief says, "So you mean to say that Genghis captured the criminal we were looking for by chance? Not only that, but he also killed them and rid the people of their evil." He was overjoyed, because with this, the case was closed. He then goes out and calls for Genghis, announcing to everyone that the one who died is a dangerous criminal, wanted by justice, and that the hero Genghis is the one who killed and overpowered him. The town certainly didn't stay quiet. They kept singing, "Genghis, who brought us blessings," and he was very happy. After that, the brilliant detective went to re-examine the crime scene, and there he found the tooth that had flown out of one of the thieves. He was surprised and said to himself, how could someone like Genghis, a simple worker, defeat an experienced and professional killer like Yuan? He went to the tavern and started asking about Genghis. He learned from them that this town is not Genghis's original homeland, that he moved here when he married his wife, and that his surname is not Liu, that's just a nickname. His real name is Zheng, and he comes from a family of butchers. This made the detective go examine the corpses again. He found one with very red eyes, indicating he had suffered a cerebral hemorrhage. This must be Yuan, who had suffered a strong blow to the head, leading to the rupture of the vagus nerve and damage to the nerves controlling the heartbeat. A blow like that requires extremely high skill. He noted that there are 3 fugitives from justice with the same ability. The first is Fang Rishu, a war hero who was expelled from the army for being aggressive, and a gambling addict who lost all his wealth. This drove him to burn down Molly Lee's house, kill dozens of people, and then disappear. The second is named Zhou Jung, nicknamed Eye Collector. He once ambushed the Tai tribe, gouged out the victims' eyes, and also cut out their tongues, causing them to die within 3 days. The third is Boy Wan, a deranged lunatic. With a knife strike, he severs the victims' blood vessels and leaves them to bleed to death. He also cuts off his victims' heads and leaves them boiling over fire. The detective then returns to the tavern owner and says that Genghis arrived in town after the spring festival and came to his tavern in the afternoon. He learned from him that he is from a distant village with customs and traditions different from theirs. We then go to Genghis, whose wife was telling him that there is a medicine that will ease her childbirth, but he tells her it contains mercury, a dangerous and toxic substance that will harm her body. At that moment, she says, "Why do you look so worried?" He tells her he is still thinking about the 2 he killed. At that same time, the brilliant detective is also sitting and thinking about the 2 who were killed. He discovered that the swordsman had a breathing problem and an allergy to something specific, which made him tense and anxious. When he drank, it upset his balance, From this, he recalled that one day there was a son who stole from his family, but he misunderstood him and brought him back to his family. However, the child was treacherous and poisoned their food. The father and mother died instantly, but the detective managed to save himself and treat himself using ancient medicine methods he was skilled in. Since that day, he has completely lost trust in people. The next day, he goes to Genghis's house, where he meets his wife and keeps asking her about how she met Genghis and how they got to know each other. We then learn that Genghis had argued with his family and saw her while she was hunting. From their conversation, we find out that she was previously married to a reckless man who abandoned her and her son and never returned. He leaves her and goes to investigate with Genghis himself. As he already suspects him, he asks him directly, "Can you tell me how you killed Yuan?" So, Genghis starts recounting what happened in detail, exactly as it occurred, with complete innocence. But the brilliant detective deduced that Genghis used a northern combat style against the brutal Yuan, which is why Yuan couldn't escape from him. Then he asked, "How did you cut off his ear?" Genghis replied, "I cut it off, but the second man with me was the one who cut it. I dodged his strike, and by mistake, he cut off his partner's ear." The detective then began visualizing what happened and understood how Genghis killed them. It became clear here that Genghis is a professional, highly talented in martial arts, and was very much in control and proficient against the opponent whose tooth he knocked out. He attacked him with all his strength, moving around like a monkey, jumping everywhere. After that, he delivered a blow to the swordsman that stopped his heart. This was because it caused a blood clot, resulting in an immediate cardiac arrest that led to his death. Afterward, Genghis played dumb and said, "Yuan shoved me out the door and drowned me in the water. I was only defending myself, nothing more." Genghis kept talking, not knowing he was speaking with a genius who uncovered him, and realized that Genghis was the one who pulled him into the water to weaken the force of his strikes. He also realized that Genghis delivered a strong blow to his head that could either paralyze the victim or kill them instantly, and that Genghis knew exactly what he was doing, that he intentionally killed Yuan. After that, he leaves him and walks away. We see afterward, the village elders gathered in a house, talking about how they will take care of the tuition fees for Genghis's adopted son, Fang, as a result of his heroism. They also plan to provide him with new clothes, which moved Aya to tears of joy. Later, we go to Genghis, as he is cutting down a tree. The detective still doesn't leave him alone, and keeps observing his every move, even his breathing, because Kung Fu masters take 10 seconds between each inhalation and exhalation, but Genghis was the opposite. The detective wondered how he could control his internal energy with such power. He tried to help him and lift the load, but it caused Genghis to lose his balance and fall from the bridge. If it weren't for that tree saving him from falling into the river, but it couldn't hold for long and broke, causing him to fall at that moment. However, they pulled him out and nothing happened to him. Afterward, a discussion ensues between him and the detective about how there is no such thing as coincidence. Everything is arranged by fate, and everything has a reason. Later, the detective goes to meet his friend and tells him that he can't find evidence against Genghis, and that he is indeed one man, but he has two different lives, and he needs to understand them. But his friend tells him to leave it alone, saying, "We're not here to rehabilitate criminals." At that point, the detective tells him that only seasoned martial artists have the talent to control their internal energy in order to change their nature. Genghis is doing this, pretending to be a righteous man, but he is also a killer and a professional. "I will definitely prove this to you." When night comes, he goes to Genghis's house and has dinner with him. He keeps asking him many questions about the country he came from, how he has all these years and never longed for his homeland again, and he also says, "I learned from your son that you used to have a horse, which is a rare thing in this country," and asks him, "Where is this horse?" At that moment, Genghis tells him, "My father saw I loved the horse, so he killed it. Not only that, but he also made me eat it without me knowing. He said, 'Since your stomach could digest horse meat, you are truly a man, and there is no fear for you.'" Later, we find the detective, whose name is Baha, imposing himself and saying he will stay with them for the night. At the end of the day, he withdraws to Genghis's room and keeps examining everything in it. Strangely, Genghis woke up and noticed, but didn't say anything. The next day, Genghis speaks with Baha and says, "You want to arrest me, don't you? I'll make it easy for you and tell you. Long ago, I was sentenced to prison for a murder case for 10 years. I am from the Jung village. My father was originally a butcher, and a man borrowed money from my father but never returned it. That man was very stupid and violent. At that time, my father gave me a knife, and I stabbed the man until he died. After that, I froze in place, and even heard the crying of the son of the man I killed, and he kept staring at me for a long time." But Baha interrupts him and says that the sentence for murder is more than 10 years. years, so he realizes that he was pardoned after serving 10 years. I wanted to change, so I left the country with all its memories and started a completely new life. He pleads with him to leave him alone. Baha leaves him, and Genghis goes with his family to the market. At that time, Baha observes him and sees that insects flee from him, which means he possesses a supernatural internal force. And he realizes that Genghis lied to him, but the townspeople began to sense that his intentions regarding Genghis were not pure, so everyone started to resent him in order to make him leave the town. They even gathered in front of his house. Eventually, his friend comes to him and tells him the shocking news. We learn that there is no village called Li Yan, nor is there a Zheng family whose ancestors were butchers. However, 10 years ago, an entire butcher family was slaughtered because they borrowed money and didn't repay it. Their meat was used as filling for bread distributed to the poor. If you recall, we investigated that case. He then recalls memories and learns that after the Tank tribe slaughtered 1,000 people, 73 demons remained. Out of 800 bloodthirsty individuals who ate raw human flesh, the survivors stopped burying their dead and began eating them. After all these killings, the second in command of their group, named Tang, disappeared. This all happened 10 years ago. From here, we understand that Genghis is the leader of the 72 demons group, so the detective must return to the district to obtain an arrest warrant for him. On his way, he encounters Genghis, who realizes he is leaving the town. Genghis says to him, "I'll show you a shortcut to the police station that will get you there quickly. This path is known only to a few, and I discovered it by chance." Of course, Baha is extremely tense and doesn't know what to do, but Genghis says, "Here is where our paths part, a moment of farewell. Walk straight along this path, and after an hour, you'll reach the main road." In the blink of an eye, Genghis disappears. Baha is on the verge of going mad with fear. Terrified, he runs in a state of extreme tension. Strangely, he reaches his district without Genghis killing him. He goes to the official there and says, "Since Genghis isn't wanted by justice, why do you want to arrest him?" But Baha replies, "The demons are a group of criminals, and he is their leader." The chief says, "Where is your evidence to convict him? You're just risking your life, nothing more. To file your complaint with the judge, you need to offer a bribe of 40 bags of silver." Naturally, Baha doesn't have the means, so he goes to his wife and asks her for help, meaning to borrow money from her. At that moment, we learn they have marital problems because her father sold fake medicine. However, it didn't cause anyone's death, so his wife reproaches him, saying, "Even though he asked for your forgiveness, you refused, and that led him to commit suicide." Baha then goes, pays the money, and obtains the arrest warrant for Genghis. At that moment, the corrupt policeman goes to inform the gang of 72 about Genghis's presence. He also tells them that Genghis has 2 sons, one his own, and the other his wife's child from a previous marriage. Their leader then says, "Why didn't you go to inform the Black Dragon gang, and instead came to us?" The tension becomes evident on the corrupt policeman's face, and he is left speechless. The leader continues, "Let me tell you why, because you know we are in contact with Genghis, right? Let me tell you who Tang, known as Genghis, is. He is the son of the great leader, which is me, and you brought me information so I could kill my own son." He then delivers a blow to the policeman's head, exactly like the one his son Yuan received, killing him instantly. At that point, we learn that Genghis left his father long ago, and his father has been searching for him all this time. Finally, he is about to get him. Baha returns with the police to the village once again. There, they find the villagers performing rituals to pray for the souls of their deceased, believing that if you're buried in the ground, you won't be safe from harm by small creatures. When they enter the village, they find a celebration honoring Genghis for his skills. Suddenly, his father's men appear in front of everyone. One of them attacks Genghis, but he shows no resistance at all, not even defending himself. She begins slaughtering the villagers one after another until Genghis stops her, revealing his immense power and mastery of kung fu. 2 of the gang members attack him, but he easily fends off both, and no one can match him despite their strength. He is a highly skilled fighter, breaking their bones and leaving nothing intact. At that moment, the girl says to him, "Now I remember your Tang." His wife is shocked by what she hears and sees. In an instant, Genghis runs with all his strength, moving with incredible speed and agility, as light and graceful as a cat, until he enters a house. He tells the girl, "I won't return to you again." But she says, "You know your father's wish is for you to return, and he won't give up on it." The two engage in a fierce battle. Genghis takes a defensive stance, calmly standing his ground and fighting her until he breaks her fingers and lands a series of consecutive blows, finally overpowering her and bringing her to the ground. He was about to gouge out her eyes, as he is accustomed to collecting the eyes of his opponents, but he stops himself. The girl seizes the opportunity, strikes him, grabs a weapon, and foolishly cuts the ropes tethering the animals. All the animals attack her at once, and she falls into the river. On the other side, we see his wife gathering her belongings and preparing to leave. But Genghis arrives and learns that the police chief has asked her to hide in the fortress for their protection. However, he tells her he cannot go with them, so she refuses to leave without him. At this point, he confesses to her that he is not Genghis. She becomes furious and breaks down in tears, recalling the days when Genghis begged the man to spare his children and forgive them. Returning to the present, Genghis looks at his son, crying and filled with remorse for him as well. The next day, there is a funeral for the people who were slaughtered. At that moment, Baha arrives and sees the destruction and ruin in the village, realizing it must be the work of the demon gang. The officer with him says, "We have no business here. They are a gang at each other's throats, and each will finish off the other." But Baha is determined to bring him to justice by any means. Genghis hears this and appears before him saying, "Didn't you promise me you wouldn't come back? Why are you here?" He introduces himself as Tang from the demon gang. At that point, the officer gets scared and orders his men to leave immediately. The scene shifts to Aya, who is on her way to the fortress. Meanwhile, Genghis is with Baha, who asks him, "Why didn't you kill me in the forest?" Genghis replies, "Because I believed your promise that you wouldn't return." Baha then tells him about a plan to escape all this. He will fake his death using a few things he will explain. In reality, he will enter a comatose state, but no one will be able to tell the difference between death and a coma. The second step, to convince the demon gang, is for Baha to press on the vagus nerve in Genghis's neck. This will cause him to enter a state of decline. His heartbeat will stop, there will be no signs of life, and he will lose all sensation. He will be able to sustain this for 15 minutes, but if Baha fails to resuscitate him within that time, he will die for real. The plan is executed as the gang arrives. Baha tells them that they will take Tang's body to the court. One by one, the gang members come down to confirm his death, and they do indeed verify it, proceeding to perform their specific rituals. Meanwhile, Tang's father goes to the fortress, asking about his grandson. When we return to Baha, he places his hand on Tang's heart because the 15 minutes have passed. This forces him to perform resuscitation quickly to bring him back to life. After many attempts, he succeeds in reviving him. However, he is shocked to find the gang surrounding him from all directions, leaving him no escape. This leads him to take a sword and cut off his own arm. By doing this, he chooses his wife and son over his real family. His brother tells him, "From today, Tang is dead to us. Go tell your father these words. You'll find him with your wife and son." Tang returns home and indeed finds his father there. He is horrified to see his arm severed and is filled with extreme anger. He forces his grandson to eat against his will, treating him with utmost cruelty. When the mother tries to defend him, he shoves her away. All this time, Tang is watching, but he says, "I cut off my arm because of you. Now there is no bond between us. Leave me alone." His father replies, "Fine, but I will take your son in your place." This makes Tang break his silence. He takes his sword in an attempt to rescue his son, who is about to be lost to him, and engages in a struggle with his father. Baha is outside, observing everything that happens. Tang's father is a superhuman, highly skilled in controlling his internal energy, and no sword can harm him. He manages to overpower Tang. The mother takes her son and runs, but the father catches up to her as well, and with a blow, she faints. However, Tang regains consciousness and recovers his strength. After a fierce battle between them, the father overpowers the son, who is on the verge of being killed. But Baha intervenes, injecting him in the neck, and a bolt of lightning strikes him, killing him instantly. Tang returns to his normal life, choosing to abandon killing and opting for his small family.
And that concludes today's film. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and hit the bell icon to stay updated. Share your thoughts in the comments, and stay tuned for the next summary. Goodbye!